and welcome to this edition of the Time with Hime podcast. I'm your host, Lynn Cordish, joined by Superintendent Hime. Happy New Year, sir.
Oh, Happy New Year. So glad to be back and get our podcast going again.
We've had a full week already. Last week we came back. We had a lot of activities, events, but before we get into all of that, let's talk about how we ended last semester, really, with a big celebration.
Oh, yes, we had our Teacher of the Year celebration. It went great. I think it was a success all around. Big shout out to all the people who worked on it, and we'll work hard and make it better. But that'll be our goal next year, is to have, again, all of our teachers and staff present. We had some great stories, some great feel-good moments. And as always, we got to not only celebrate those who won or who were given awards, but celebrate everybody in the room, because all of our teachers are heroes. We know that. They work hard in a day-to-day, and every teacher got into this business to make a difference. Money was never the driving force to become an educator. And so it's a big shout out to all of our educators. And we were also able to honor support staffs, as we always say. Sometimes the bus driver, they're the first ones they see, the last ones they see. The cook, they get fed right off the bat. The custodians, the clean school derives, everybody knows those environments are important in learning. And so, our secretaries and everybody involved in the school process, it takes a team, and it's a we organization. And we were able to celebrate everyone. So big shout out to those.
And we had our Friends of Education as well. And that's a huge thing, because we have a lot of community partners that help us throughout the school year and make it.
Big deal for us on that, and big excited to celebrate those people through the years, and all of those people who, because again, we have a huge community of people who help and support us, so big shout out to them.
Congratulations to everybody again. And then last Friday, we kicked off our weekend with an amazing day out at Bryan Hart.
The boat races.
Yes.
The boat races are one of those things, and a big shout out to Vanessa and all the makerspace and the tech teams and that whole organization. And then a lot of our kids, with our middle school students and your team doing the video and such. But a big shout out to all of them for the work on that. But it's pretty cool. They work on building boats at the elementary schools, and when they come up with something they think will float, then they bring that model to the we do it at the Reinhardt Center at Fort Sill, and they allow us to use the gym, and then so they all get in there and build the boats, and only the kids can do the taping and building. The parents or the teachers have to just watch, basically, and then they get in and race their boats in the water, and just to go out there and watch the kids and the thought process and just that, introducing them to simple engineering and hopefully career pathways and creating opportunities for our students as they grow into young adults.
Well, and the camaraderie that day, because so much we're in our schools, our elementary schools, but in the gym, they were all able to get together, check each other's workout, and even cheer each other on.
Yes. When,
they just needed that little motivation. So to hear our schools and our students just come together as one was phenomenal. So I really appreciate it.
And that's one thing, we would like to, because we are Lawton. And we're nothing against being, Pat Henry or Ridgecrest or Eisenhower, who won, I believe, this year, or Edison or Woodland or Carriage Hills, but we are Lawton. And sometimes we forget that, and doing things as Lawton will help drive more of a community mindset for our students. What can we do for Lawton as a whole?
That's right. Now, the one thing that we're back, this is second semester, and with second semester education, we're always looking ahead for what's to come, and that includes enrollment,
yes.
Right?
Well, and enrollment's huge, because when we sell that we're going to create opportunities and destroy roadblocks, and the hardest thing in this create opportunities is getting parents to understand what those opportunities are, because it's a new set of parents every year. If you're a fifth grade parent, TAP is going to be new to you possibly. The idea that we move high school classes to middle school so your child will have more flexibility in the years to come. And some of those things are new. If you're a high school, the number of parents who still don't realize college is free. And when they say free, we get your books, we pay your fees, we pay your tuition. And so some of those things you need to understand, because our ultimate goal is to start pairing our students with careers as they do career fairs and job fairs, and say, okay, so, we'll use Bar S, for example. Bar S comes in and say, hey, you want to work for us in our food service part? If you'll take these classes, and then we take these career pathways, but we tell a student what classes they need to take, and then when they graduate high school, they can go to work for Bar S, and instead of thinking of coming in for a low minimum wage, $10 an hour job, they can go in for a $20 an hour wage job, and then have that advancement throughout their career and make a living wage and not just draw a check. And that's our ultimate goal with that. If they want to go to college, we'll prep them for college. We hope to get them plenty of opportunities on both sides of that.
Well, and even so much as we're talking about enrollment, we're preparing for the Life Ready Conference and Career Fair,
Yes.
which will be hybrid this year, where we'll have our juniors in person on March 5th, but then we'll have junior and senior virtual opportunity for that.
And that's that deal you keep trying to speed up, because we also do career fair on for seniors. I mean, I remember when I was a kid 3 or 4 years ago, when we were a senior, we did our career fair and we started talking about, then you do it for, well, now in education, what we want to do is we don't want to lock you in and say if your child's a 7th grade and they decide they want to be a welder, well, all we're going to do is prepare them to be a welder. No, we still want to give them a broad education. We just want to make sure some of their electives and some of those things are based around what will improve their opportunities as a welder, and introduce them to that. Because again, we do TAP, and people always say, well, what's TAP for? When we talk about our middle school kids, we do that to introduce to career tech courses, so the student have a better idea of what class they want to take. If your child's a sophomore, they're going to the career tech this week to look at the career tech, and if they're interested in career tech, they got to choose, and there's some things they have to do to get into the career tech. So just work with your parents, work with your students, work with your school, communicate with your counselors and your children and the teachers, and make sure we're having those discussions about let's open those doors and create those opportunities. And my kids aren't that old, and they all changed their majors while they were in college, some numerous times, and they changed those career paths. So we're not in any way locking them in. We're just going to do everything we can to make it where they have less to do after graduation to start that career than before, because as we know, it creates a lot of student debt, no matter if you go to career tech or college or different training programs after you graduate. Whereas before you walk across the stage, the school pays for it. So we want to do everything we can to limit that college debt that you accumulate.
Well, and I just remember growing up too, it wasn't really pushed to think about it early. And by the time you're a junior and senior, like, what do you want to do? And so this allows them the opportunity to explore and maybe say, I thought that's what I wanted. I need to shift to a different direction. So we'll go ahead and try something new. So I really appreciate that flexibility.
Yeah, because if they choose something in the 7th grade and they change and do something different, they want to do different as 8th graders, it's all good.
Right. Now, I will tell you, before the break, we didn't get to talk much about it, but now if you drive down Ferris or you're going on to Fort Sill and you pass by Lawton High and Central, there's something brand new.
Oh, yeah, and again, that's fencing. If you saw, we had a big article in the paper about it. We talk about this a lot, but when you're in a school, I don't care who you talk to, our job is safety. We want our parents to feel we're doing everything we can do to make sure when you drop their child off that they get home safe. And so a lot of that has to do with security. And if you look at our elementaries, we've talked about it, how we've created what they call bullpens or waiting areas where you can get in, but you have to be let out of the office to get to where students are. We fenced them in where they only have one way in, and there's only one way into the school. Now we're looking at these giant high school, middle school combined campuses. How do we reduce the entry points to it? And we're building a beautiful fencing, wrought iron around the front. If you go to Lawton High and look, and Central, you can see it's moving really fast. The rain today probably slowed that down. But the idea is going to be that there'll be a lot of gates in there that when you're in the gated area, you can go to the gate will open and let you out. But we're going to limit the number of areas you can come in while students are during instructional time, so that we can use our officers to monitor those entry points. So, because again, we've talked about this for a couple of years, and as we deal with our safety experts, and it's something you had Lawton first. Yes, before sir. I got here, and when you start talking to those people, the most secure thing you can do is be secure before they get on your campus, not after they get on your campus. It's to be proactive, not active. So hopefully this helps. Again, we meet with our police officers, our principals, and different people, and it'll be flexible as it goes as to what gates are open, what gates are closed, your entrances and exits. But at some point, we might even have guard shacks you have to go by to get into those schools during instructional time.
And the weapons detectors at the games
Oh,
have
yeah,
been
got
really
the new
helpful.
yeah, we bought the new weapons detectors, and they're really helpful at the game because of the walkthrough side of them. But they're helpful at our sites too because they're so much faster. And as we learn to use them, they've only used them for a few days, and they're already telling me that they're saving time. So we're excited about that as well. Safety, you know, it's just as technology improves, we want to improve, but we want to continue to make sure student safety, adult safety, and everyone that's part of our process, we're doing everything we can to keep them safe. Big shout out to our officers, because that is their goal. Chief Seeley and his team, that is their goal, is to keep our students and staff safe.
And anybody that comes onto our campus for an event. Now, before we end our podcast, one of the things that's pretty big, up and down, just kind of checking, is that Oklahoma weather.
Oh, Oklahoma weather. Come on.
So
are you going to make a weather forecast?
I'm not, no. Because I'm not going to be wrong when you don't get your day.
You know, it is there. It is there. And we talk about this every year. We're at that time where this weekend there looks to be a chance for some weather, but then it looks like, okay, it's going to get in the 40s. And then you look the next day, it's going to stay in the 20s. But it probably the weekend right now, but we all know it may blow in Wednesday the way it works in Oklahoma, or it may wait till next Tuesday to blow in. So just keep an eye on the weather. Again, we have our virtual days. If it looks bad, we'll do everything we can to make a decision the night before. We talk about it forever. If you don't feel comfortable with sending your child to school for whatever reason, you know, feel free to call them in virtual. And safety first on that as well.
Absolutely. And that's just a great reminder. We do have the rooms update. The way we notify our families is through the text messaging system online, but for rooms as well, if you've had any trouble updating those apps and checking on them, make sure you connect with your school or reach out to us in the communications department. Mr. Hime, lots of things going on. We have a huge semester planned.
A Happy New Year again.
That's it. Anything else you want to remind our families of?
Nope. Just know that our goal at Lawton Public Schools is to make sure that we're creating opportunities. If there's something you see that you would love for your child to have access to that you don't feel we're offering that other high schools, let us know. We'll see if we can do it.
And what's the email and website they can
It's
go to?
info@lawtonps.org, and you can email us at that's the email, info@lawtonps.org, and then our website is just lawtonps.org.
And if you don't already like and subscribe to our YouTube and social media channels, please do so, because we have a lot of great information on there and shout outs by what our students and staff are doing. So other than that, Mr. Hime, welcome back. It's 2024.
2024, wow.
And it's going to go by quickly. Before you know it, it'll be
it's
spring
downhill
break.
from here to spring break. You know
That's
how that
it.
goes.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Thank you guys for joining us today. And until next week, be well, stay safe, make positive impacts, and we'll see you then.